Let's dive right into one of the most epic eschatological timelines out there, tracking the dramatic chain reaction of events leading up to Qiyamah. We're looking at a master timeline of the last hour, a sequence of events so massive it completely reshapes reality as we know it. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how this fascinating, terrifying, and profoundly structured timeline unfolds, step by step.
To keep us grounded, here is our roadmap. We'll start with the emergence of Dajjal, move to Isa defeating the false messiah, tackle the threat of Yajooj and Majooj, witness some massive cosmic shifts and the beast, and finally reach the final signs in Qiyamah. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The emergence of Dajjal, the false messiah. The end times don't actually kick off with some massive cosmic explosion. No, they begin with a human-scale but globally devastating deception. Dajjal is known as the false messiah. Imagine a mysterious island in the middle of the ocean where a figure finally breaks free from ancient chains. The moment he's unleashed, his chaos spreads across the globe like a tidal wave. This isn't just a physical war. We're talking about humanity's absolute greatest psychological and spiritual test.
And his psychological warfare is devastating. He boldly claims, "I am your Lord. In my hands are heaven and hell." He demands worship by seemingly controlling the weather, bringing rain to barren lands, and providing resources to a desperate, starving world. He literally presents himself as a god to a deeply vulnerable humanity.
So what's his ultimate weapon? It's a grand visual illusion. What he presents as a beautiful, lush paradise with flowing rivers, his heaven, is actually the blinding fire of hell in reality. And conversely, his terrifying hell is actually true salvation. It forces people to choose between what their physical eyes see and what their hearts know to be true. Tragically, thousands fall for the mirage.
Moving to Section 2. Isa defeats the false messiah.
Just when millions are deceived and honestly all hope seems completely lost, the ultimate counterforce arrives. Isa ibn Maryam, or Jesus, descends from the heavens in glowing white garments. It's an incredibly vivid scene. He descends with drops like pearls shining on his face. And he doesn't come alone. He joins forces with Imam Mahdi, bringing desperately needed hope, peace, and justice back to a fractured world.
But it's truly amazing how swiftly this grand deception just shatters. Isa faces Dajjal's massive, brainwashed army, but the absolute second Dajjal lays eyes on Isa, his false claims of godhood break. Panic sets in. He tries to flee, but he literally melts like salt dissolving in water just from Isa's presence. The final decisive defeat happens at Bab al-Lud, and following this overwhelming victory, the surviving followers declare their absolute belief in only one God. Truth is totally restored.
Section 3. The threat of the Yajooj and Majooj, an unstoppable horde. But that moment of peace? It's painfully short-lived. If we track how this builds, Phase 1 was Dajjal emerging, Phase 2 is Isa descending, and now, Phase 3, Yajooj and Majooj is unleashed. Right after Dajjal is defeated, an angel warns Isa about a terrifying, unstoppable new force breaking through an ancient physical barrier.
This horde of Yajooj and Majooj swarms the earth literally like a plague. Their sheer volume is just impossible to overstate. They're so massive, so ravenous, that they consume all resources in their path. Imagine an army so vast they drink entire lakes totally dry, leaving absolutely nothing but cracked mud behind. The invasion is so overwhelming that it forces humanity to abandon their cities and flee to the mountains just to survive.
Since humanity literally cannot defeat this army physically, salvation has to come through divine intervention. Isa and the trapped believers pray earnestly for deliverance. In response, a plague of tiny insects is sent directly into the necks of the horde. The entire massive army is wiped out in a single moment. The earth is left completely filled with their terrible stench until a heavy, cleansing divine rain washes their remains deep into the sea.
Section 4. Cosmic Shifts and the Beast.
Following those earthly wars, the signs escalate into a terrifying cosmic sequence. The scale shifts from human armies to the very mechanics of the universe itself. We go from a global black smoke to 3 days of darkness, to the absolute shock of the sun rising from the west, and finally, the beast emerges.
First up, a mysterious, suffocating black smoke descends directly from the sky. It engulfs every single city and nation in terrifying darkness. It's a global event that chokes the earth, forcing humanity to their knees in fear,
blurring the lines of reality before it slowly lifts by divine command.
Then, the very rotation of the Earth seems to just halt. The world is plunged into 3 days of total, unrelenting darkness. And then, terrifyingly, the sun rises from the west. This marks the absolute point of no return. Once the sun rises from the west, the doors of repentance are permanently, irrevocably closed. Any new declarations of faith are simply no longer accepted. The time for choosing is over.
Right after that sun shifts, the earth itself splits open to reveal Dabbat al-Ard, the beast of the earth. This miraculous creature emerges with one very specific task: to judge humanity. It physically marks the spiritual state of every human being, marking faces glowing white for the believers, granting them peace, and deep black for the disbelievers.
The beast speaks directly to humanity with these chilling words. You rejected Allah's signs, and now the truth is before you. It completes its decisive task of separating humanity into 2 distinct groups, completely visible to everyone, and then it simply returns to the dust. The judgment is set.
Section 5. The Final Signs and Qiyamah.
We've finally arrived at the absolute culmination of the timeline. And astonishingly, despite everything they've just witnessed, humanity falls right back into arrogance and sin in Phase 1. This willful ignorance triggers a final, rapid-fire sequence of destruction. Phase 2 brings 3 massive sinkholes. Phase 3 is an inescapable fire from Yemen. And Phase 4 is the ultimate sound, the trumpet.
These final steps act like an unavoidable funnel, forcing humanity to the very end. Step 1. The Earth itself gives way, with 3 massive sinkholes swallowing huge parts of the East, the West, and Arabia. Step 2. A relentless, towering fire erupts from Yemen. This isn't a normal fire. It actively chases and drives all remaining humans into one final, inescapable gathering place. And then, Step 3. The final trumpet, is blown.
When that final trumpet sounds, existence as we know it simply ends. The heavens are rolled up like a scroll. All earthly ties, all wealth, all relationships are completely severed. Every single soul is left completely alone to face the scales of justice based purely on their deeds. The crucial takeaway here is that all worldly illusions vanish instantly at the sound of the Sur.
Which brings us to a final thought. We've gone from false messiahs to cosmic shifts to the rolling up of the heavens themselves. This incredible escalating sequence leaves us with one haunting question. What truly matters when all the illusions of the world finally fade away? Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.